Hey, welcome back. You did it. Now you're on to building momentum. So we're on to this third segment, or this third portion of the training, and the second part of the mental framework as you continue to build your mental wealth. So let's get into this. And the second part here is the ecosystem. So we're going to walk through and talk about the practice of being the ecologist of your life. And the way that's going to work is we're going to talk to like what the ecosystem looks like and things, and also thinking about your time. So, but before we get started, in the comments, I'd love for you to type, or I'd love for you to type, but if I were to say, I'm going to give you, instead of just one first class ticket, one first class or Delta One or whatever your favorite airline is, we're going to give you two. If I were to do that, where would you go today? Like, all you had to do was pack and show up to the airport. Where would you go? And type it in the chat. And as I say that, as I'm thinking this out loud, this doesn't mean I like, if I were to do it, it's something that I haven't planned on. So don't expect me to pick a winner. There is no picking a winner. This is just for you. And where would you go, and why, and who would you take with you? There we go. So there's your reflection. Where would you go, and who would you take with you? And for me, I'd have to say it would be Morocco. Morocco, the northern part of Africa, the continent of Africa. And there's so much like history, but also just I love just the beauty of that part of the world, and that part of the continent of Africa, between Morocco and like Egypt and all those countries that are right along the border leading to the Mediterranean. So yeah, just type it in the comments. And as always, I will keep reminding you of this, all of these things, because I want it to be something that becomes second thought to you, that when you want to focus on something and want to make space for yourself, you have this ritual of like creating the space. And it may look different, 5 years from now, this comfortable space and quiet space, but even the favorite beverage, but making sure that you're ready and you're present for you. Because in your life, you are the most important part, and investing in yourself is the most important part. Because whether it's the oxygen mask analogy, or as my dad used to say about like, how are you going to be sick and trying to take care of somebody who's sick? Take your medicine, drink your fluids so you can get well, so you can help other people. So the same holds true when you're building the joy and you're building your mental wealth. You got to like focus on you. And as always, when we go through this, if there's going to be topics, or there may be things that come up, and just be mindful of that, and realize that you do have help and support. There's a multitude of services and organizations that are available to you. And this isn't just for the United States. This is a global class, but also there's global resources. And if you can't find it, definitely just reach out to me, and I'll do my best to connect you and find some organizations. So our flow, we've done the first two. Now we're going to jump into you being the ecologist, and starting with, how are you feeling? And we start with how you're feeling because you have to get present with yourself. You're present. Yeah, you're here, you're focused, you're ready to take notes. But how are you feeling? Because this impacts you. And pick 3 words. And if you want to share them in the comments, I'm going to go ahead and hit pause. I'm going to pause here for a second so you can type those in, or write it into your journal so you can kind of track how you're feeling through the beginning of the training, and then see how you're at the end, and add this to your rituals, to your journal. So go ahead and hit pause and type it in. All right. We've done mental, we've dived deep into your life, and now we're looking at being the ecologist. So as you can see, it's hard to be, you really can't be the ecologist without knowing where you've been, right? And who you like, it's starting to get a glimpse of who you are when you think of the themes and those things of that nature. Oftentimes, when you think of the ecologist, you think of these these creatures, including the coral with which we share this planet we call Earth. Whether it's a David Attenborough video or more recently, President Barack Obama does some narration, and so anyway, so these are all the we think of the things that aren't human, but really, like at its core, when you think of the ecosystem, it's, I like to look at number two. It's a complex network of interconnected systems, or interconnected system, right? All these things interacting, and the ecologist is just a person who's an expert in that ecology. So when you think of the ecosystem of your life, and the ecosystems within the ecosystems of your life, being an expert on that gives you kind of this a different view and a perspective, unlike just being a passive participant. You're being an active ecologist. So action one here, or practice one, I want you to think through on these next two questions, next list, thinking through 3 responses for each question. And think, again, the purpose of this training is for you just to get a glimpse of like the practices and the actions that are part of each part of the framework. After this, say a couple months from now or later this week, you can go deeper dive into even more questions. So 2 questions, 3 responses, and here's your questions. And go ahead and hit pause, pick your 2 questions, and give 3 responses. And if you feel like you want to share, you can put them in it in the comments, but that's not required. Go ahead and hit pause and answer. Okay, so now you have 6 responses, 3 for each question that you chose. And here's the cool thing: when you start to think of how, like, I don't know what an ecosystem looks like. How can I be an ecologist if I don't know what an ecosystem looks like? Well, you've already created part of it. You created 2 nodes. So if you think of these questions, whatever question 1 through 6 you chose, it's a node. The bold part is a node, a core piece, and the responses are connected to the node. And you could pick, like with these questions, you could pick different words. So instead of work, you can say career, or if you instead of saying service, you could put community involvement. Whatever words resonate with you, but you're thinking of these as a core piece from which there's kind of these tentacles. And so what you're going to do is put these into a chart. And if you've noticed, this is the flow that kind of works. You build up kind of the basic answers, put them into structure of a chart. And now with this chart, you're going to draw a diagram. And so one of those would resonate best with you as you continue to do these practices for the mental wealth framework, to create your toolkit. And so as you do this is a basic piece of your ecosystem. And this could be all that there is. Like you have a whiteboard, or you have your digital tool. And when you think of this, these are your ecosystems. So for me, one is family. Nate, he's a dear friend of mine, but my brother, things that I have a joy node. That's the ecosystem. What happens? I'm at the core of all of these. These are you're still centered on yourself. So travel, where have you traveled? Where have you lived? Where do you want to live? That would be more of a dotted line. But thinking in terms of, this is almost like, this is taking the expanded view of all of the things happening. So when you feel overwhelmed, those days you're like, I just don't know. There's so much going on. Yes, there is so much going on. Really, there's always so much going on. And at the same time, you don't have to focus on all of it all the time. Like right now, I'm doing this training, but also my family, there's things going on with my family. But I'm recording this video for all of you, as part of work, and as part of, in a way as a part of community and things that bring me joy. Like I love teaching. And so thinking of this, as not only the tool to give you the visualization of all these things happening in your life, and just from a wow, I'm an amazing human, and all of these things are going on, and then it allows you to go, oh, this is what's happening, as opposed to everything's going on, but I really can't put words to this. Much like the feeling wheel allows you to put words to your feelings. And so as you're looking through this, and we're gonna come back to this in the life map, it'll all be incorporated as we continue forward. But looking at this is your ecosystem. And now you have your ecosystem. 24 hours in a day, your ecosystem is running, your ecosystems are running, right? And so the last piece of being an ecologist is figuring out where you're spending your time, because where you're spending your time is helps you understand how much time you're interacting with each piece of your ecosystem. And so with this third piece of being the ecologist is really practical, no shame, no judgment. You are going to look at your time, and this is kind of 7 days, but you can look back and reflect on just one day, so the last 24, 48 hours. And you're going to do this, as you see, break it up into 30 minutes. And with breaking it up, you're just going to do blocks. You don't have to be super detailed. I know, like if it's not on your calendar and all this, but keep it simple. Keep it simple and go, like, I ate food for an hour. I had a client session. You know, personal time for me, it's like going on a walk or going on a run. Or I haven't, like you see, I watch Netflix and research work projects, right? So this is not a judgment thing. This is a helping you, again, realize about your life. And so before going back to this, the last step of this, we do that chart, right? So we go through that, and then you'll go through that. And then after you have that, in a week, there's 168 hours, 24 times 7. And then you just want to start to block things out to see, like, oh, if I slept 7 hours a day, 7 days a week is 49 hours. 49 hours divided by 168 is 29.2. So 29.2% of the time I'm asleep, which is great. I mean, but anyway, the goal, which is great for me, but the goal is just to see. You're just observing and marking down. You're not judging yourself, no shame. And so now you have your ecosystem, you know where you're spending time within your ecosystem, you understand where you come from in your life, and the themes that have come up. And now we're going to look to nurture the nature of your life. And so now you have three pieces of your toolkit, from which you're building up. We're going to go to the third. And the third, nurturing the nature. And this is an either or. This is a both and. We're going to nurture and nature. So thank you for making time for the second piece, making time for yourself. And we're going to end this session and come back for the next one, because there's so much more to go.